Hello and welcome to Where Creatives Connect. My name is Jamie Sharp and this is the podcast that brings you the behind the scenes of creatives, whether they be dancers, actors, musicians, you name it, I'll have them on and I'll do my best as a brand new interviewer to try and bring you the golden nuggets that you want at home. I'm over the moon today to have not only a wonderful musician, but a brilliant composer, producer, educator, band leader, to name but a few things. He really truly is a multidisciplinarian. Josh Savage, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I almost didn't reckon. I thought you were going to have another guest on with that introduction.
Oh, you're too kind. For the people at home that don't know who you are yet, this question is for them. Imagine I am an Uber driver picking you up on a Saturday night to go to your Blues Kitchen gig, and you're carrying your unusually shaped bags, and they ask you, what do you do for a living? What do you tell them?
That is a good question. Yeah, I guess musician is the core thing I identify with. But as your very generous introduction alluded to, there are lots of things that kind of make that what it is. And so in the Uber driver scenario, I would probably just flip it straight back and say, you've been busy tonight, mate, and all the rest of it, as you usually do. But yeah, performing is what I kind of get most of my enjoyment from, I'd say, at the moment. But that hasn't always been the case, and I imagine in the future that will change as well. But for now, performing is the thing, and that's what I'm kind of gearing towards, which isn't to say I don't love all the other stuff I do, like the teaching and the band leading and all the other stuff you mentioned, really. Yeah, it's good.
Do you find, depending on who you're speaking to, whether you know they're in the industry or they've got an idea or a mutual friend or something, do you cater that answer depending on who you're speaking to?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we all do, which isn't to sound, it's not like a condescending thing, but it's not like I don't know, I never try, I've been called out before in the past, so I try not to ever like properly treat people as if they don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I'd rather they just ask a follow-up question if they want to know more. So it's kind of usually quite top level, quite kind of like, yeah, I'm a musician, that's what I do. And then inevitably people ask, oh, so what else do you do? Do you do something else? If they're not in the industry. And then it's like, oh, okay, let's talk about that if we want to.
Totally with you. It's a really tricky thing to get it right. And sometimes people can assume something as well. As a saxophonist, they normally go, oh, I've seen a saxophone before, normally in a nightclub or whatever, and it's not always just nightclub playing.
Beyond the kind of classic, bet you wish you played the triangle, or bet you wished you played the flute.
Yeah.
As often is the case. I wish I did.
And you do play the triangle really well, actually.
Thanks, man.
Instead of diving back into early Josh, we're going to go to current Josh. You are on a very exciting gig at the moment that is one of those gigs that universally is understood pretty much wherever you are in the world. What are you doing at the moment?
Yeah, it's cool. So a good friend of mine, Tanaz, he's doing The Lion King and he wants some time off. So here I am jumping into the helm. Yeah, so it's really exciting, up in one of the boxes on the side of the stage, doing my best to kind of knock out some of this kind of great music. You know, it's a dream percussion gig, The Lion King kind of percussion chair. So kind of just trying to savor it all and enjoy it as it comes, you know. It's a good opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. And you mentioned you're up in the box. For people that haven't seen it or maybe haven't thought about it, it's quite a different setup to what you might do on a standard musical. So are you able to explain your kinesphere and setup? Oh, that was quite a big word, wasn't it?
That's going on TikTok.
Hell yes. Your musical percussion kinesphere and how that works and how it's recorded.
Yeah, sure. So it's a little bit different, like you say, to usual. But you know, from a kind of instrument standpoint, there is stuff everywhere. It's a little bit carnage, but lots of congas, bongos, some African drums, djembe, and then there's a lot of tam tam. So I'm gesturing because it is literally down there. Tam tam, wind gong, and then there's a big taiko drum. There's loads of different sticks everywhere. There's some bells, woodblock, shakers, talking drum, all this kind of stuff. So so it's kind of, there is literally something for everyone in there, and it is a bit of weirdly, I thought it was going to be hard to kind of memorize where everything was, But actually, that's the thing that's kind of come the easiest thing to come. So I think certainly there's like a spatial, your spatial memory is just so much better than we think, isn't it? So that's like one thing that's come really easily. But so that's the music. Instrument wise, that is what's going on. And then from a kind of technical, view, a technical standpoint, it's just one mic that captures everything. So we wear these kind of nice, kind of stripy vests.
I think we need a little picture just here.
A loose fitting vest. And Velcroed on there is a little lapel mic. And so, everywhere we go, kind of it picks up whatever we're facing, really. So there's a little bit of a learning curve with that as well, making sure that when you're playing shakers and stuff, you're not like right next to the mic.
Bit of proximity effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't want to kind of unbalance things, which is also interesting. I guess when I was sat in with Naz before I kind of took it on, it was very much observing that side of things and kind of getting the balance of everything right as well, everything right as well, because there's moments where it's quite hench and quite kind of like really go-y, as you can imagine, and then also there's quite a lot of times where it's very like studio percussion kind of textural additions. It's not like you're the feature at that point. Often you're lit up really brightly when it's a feature, so to play up. But
gentle reminder.
I'm in pitch black darkness.
Don't play.
Probably not that loud.
If life was only that simple, just in general. A question then: if you've got all of this gear around you and you have to move around and stretch around, you're probably not reading just off a chart directly in front of you, or are you?
No, it's a good question. Yeah, a lot of it is memorized at this point. The first show that I did, I had my iPad like delicately kind of balanced on like in the corner of the kind of box, and so I could kind of glance over at that, but it was mostly for structural things rather than specific grooves. They're all kind of different than what's notated anyway. So it's it's been a lot of kind of going back to that kind of style of learning, which is more kind of, folk tradition, I guess, but like back to how you'd learn like some of these instruments, I guess, where people would literally be like showing you. It's kind of like an imitation process and that kind of thing. So that's been quite nice actually, and it's been a really good excuse to get back on auxiliary percussion and hand drums and that kind of thing. So it's the iPad thing. There's like still one bit, I don't know if I should be saying this, but there's still one bit where I'm like 99% sure I've got it. And every time it's like the quickest change, like page turn. So I'm playing like this taiko drum. It's like it's during the stampede bit.
Okay, are you the show? The kind of Mickey Mousing the stampede?
No, it's kind of just like a really big kind of ensemble kind of drum thing.
Okay,
it's a tutty thing really, but like the drums are quite a heavy feature, and it's kind of like dum 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 always. And there's a big where it's like crotchet rest. Page turn, but it's literally, you won't be able to see this at home, but kind of, I don't know, a meter and a half, 2 meters away is where my iPad is. So I'm like looking over my shoulder anyway as I'm playing.
Whoa.
And then into the next bar. So it's kind of a little bit dicey. I'd quite like to get rid of that for the next
show,
which is tonight. Originally I had the kind of pages out, and on the first show I did, I was like, I've got my iPad. There's probably not enough time to turn the page, so I'll like have the pages out and just rest them somewhere else. And it was just pitch black, and I couldn't see a thing. So completely pointless.
That's wonderful, because we would not see any of this happening.
No.
Or how exposed are you?
Well, you'd be able to see it. I doubt you'd be able to see my slightly stressed face when I was doing that the first time. But I was doing some panto stuff over Christmas, just depping, and it's much the same, where it's kind of like these guys are doing the panto, for a month or longer, like 6 weeks, and it's like 8 show weeks, so they're doing like,
it's heavy.
Quick maths, 48 shows.
Sure.
And it's just kind of like they're not. If you went backstage and you were expecting the magic of Cinderella, you are going to be disappointed.
It's quite the opposite. It's the inverse, perhaps.
It's like much the opposite. It's like all these characters just like having a smoke break. It's just like a classic thing. So I don't know. Behind the magic, I say that I'm really enjoying The Lion King. To circle back, it's really.
Don't worry,
good.
just for the
just for the gig. Yeah, cool.
In about, it must have been a year ago exactly. You were on Hairspray, the musical.
Depping for the great Craig Hansen.
There you go. What would you say is the biggest sort of difference, or are they actually quite similar when you boil down to what your job is?
I guess for that was on kit. So musically, at least, the difference is a little bit more stark. It's inherently way more exposed, and a lot of that music as well. The Hairspray stuff is like very kind of rhythm section driven anyway. So it's very that was quite intense to kind of get into. Fortunately, I knew a lot of those tunes, and it was also a fun show because, some musicals are very much you play what's written, you don't deviate, and here it is, it's the same every night. Whereas with that, there was quite a lot of license for once you know the tune, kind of getting into the corners of it and enjoying it a little bit more. And they were kind of looking for that. So it's that classic thing of always get asked for more, not for less.
Yeah.
So that was nice and kind of get, okay, you can play the show, you can have fun with it now. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. So that's like a nice thing. So yeah, that's slightly different to this, where Lion King is a little bit more, it feels generally, this chair, a bit more supportive, though there are kind of like 2 or 3 moments where you are the feature and it's like a bit more exposed. But Hairspray was kind of much more, I guess just like their songs, they're like really big songs.
Yeah, structurally hold together.
Yeah, there was a lot less kind of incidental music and no like Mickey Mousing or anything like that, which there's quite a lot in Lion King. There's lots of underscore and stuff like that as well. So.
Okay. Taking a step away from your playing, in the last year, you have become a company owner with a friend of yours, Andrew Jones.
Indeed.
Tell us all about your brand new company.
Yeah, so me and Andrew Jones, co-directors of A&J Bespoke Music. A&J because Andrew and Josh, obviously.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, no, basically I've been wanting to do this company or this project, if you like, for ages. I mean, when I was like 17, 18, I did some like work experience with my uncle, and he arranged for me to like sit with different members of his team, and they were like, what do you want to do? Because do you actually want to be a lawyer? And I was like, I'm not really sure. I'd love to like write music for like TV or advertising or films. And they're like, well, do that then. And that was their unilateral advice. Like all 3 people I spoke to were like, if you've got like a dream, just do that. And if it hasn't worked out by the time you turn 30, go to get a different job.
Yeah.
And that was their advice. So it's kind of like, oh, okay. So it kind of genesis there, and I kind of like entertained that, and I did like some adverts, like just kind of took adverts that already existed and rescored them, and loved it. And I still like, even now, there's a lot of stuff that I played or recorded back then, which is like a bit cringy and not great.
It's hard to look back sometimes, isn't it? It really is.
I mean, that's the thing of like being kind of finding something a little bit like to watch. It's just it's a sign of growth.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I've got to be positive. But with those adverts, I'm actually still quite pleased with the results of those. I think it was like, I quite like what I ended up doing even then. So it took a backseat through college for sure. Didn't have time really, I don't think, to kind of be doing it, and it wasn't in my head at that point. But post kind of during the pandemic, spent a lot of time getting my producing and like literally like technical recording skills down, or kind of trying to learn more about that. And I kind of was just like, I don't know if it was like, I mean, probably the pandemic, but just that kind of existentialism of, what is my life? What am I doing? What's the longevity of everything? And all of that. And so it was kind of like, well, diversify, what else do I like? And writing music for like, I think at its core, it's collaborating. That's the thing that truly sets my heart on fire and all that kind of thing. But like, I really love working with people. And so it's kind of like the realm and the kiln or the furnace of the furnace. So I had to check myself there. The furnace of kind of like film and like TV. That's such a so many different angles of, skills of people who work on that. So to be contributing to that was something I was like, oh, I could get behind that. And so anyway, long story short, I approached Andrew because I don't think I would have done it by myself. I needed someone else to help me be accountable. And me and Andrew like played together a lot through college. I really rate and respect him as a composer and arranger and a performer as well. And we get on really well. So it was kind of like, right, do you fancy doing this thing? And I really sold it. I was so
Dragon's Den it to him.
Properly, really passionate. Like, man, can you not, like, so much potential here.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you know, can you imagine like 5-10 years time, we'll have a team and we'll be like overseeing this stuff, all this. And really went in. He was like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. And then like I left it. And like a week later, I was like, so do you want to, what do you reckon? And he was like, yeah, let's do it. And I was
excellent.
like, yeah.
Team, hands in.
Yeah, literally. So, yeah. And so it's been such a great experience so far. You know, I mean, it's very young still. So, I mean, we've only really been working together officially for like a year with this project, just over a year maybe. And yeah, super exciting.
It's a really smart business move. Talking of business moves, your dad, very smart businessman, music educator, a very good understander and mover shaker of music education as well. And I didn't know this until my first year at the RNCM when I walked past a door and it had his name on. And I went, no way. And all these things connected. Are you able to explain what your dad does? And twofold, growing up, how do you think that impacted you as a young musician? Or did it impact you? You know, did you talk musically with him? And I'm just going to fix that camera, so talk away.
Okay, man, yeah. Good. Yeah, well, my dad, he, for a long time, he was just a music teacher in a school. And then he was he co-ran the PGCE course at MMU for music teachers. And so he's stopped doing that now, and now he's working on his business, You Can Play. Which is a business that really is like focused on consulting with music educators, schools, music hubs, all these kind of things, and working with them to kind of find products, solutions, instruments that fit into whatever space that they're kind of operating in. So that's kind of the core of it. He's done a lot of exciting work with a charity called Restore the Music, which is cool, which basically offer grants to schools to spend money only on musical instruments and teaching, training kind of thing. So that's really exciting as well. So he does all that kind of thing, and that's basically what that business is. It's had lots of kind of arms, and I've been involved in some of those. There's been like a nice overlap with things that I've been interested in and been able to offer to like work on and with, which is good. So it's been like some live streaming and that kind of thing. But in terms of like how that impacted me, it's hard to pinpoint exactly. I know we had a piano in the house, which was like, I think everyone should have a piano in their house. I think just because it looks nice. No, because
it's very wholesome, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's just like, it's nice. It's a nice thing. And, you know, it's just intriguing. And so ended up kind of getting piano lessons with my dad, and then when I was a bit older, getting piano lessons with someone else, but then having like a teenage rebellion against that. And I don't want to play the piano anymore.
You started hitting things, and all of a sudden, you're a drummer.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that's like my origin story of like basically teenage rebellion, not getting on with my parents anymore. Take up the trombone for 2 weeks, learn the bass guitar for 2 years.
Trombone?
Yeah, for like 2 weeks.
I thought I knew you.
Yeah, 2 weeks of the trombone. So
sorry to hear that.
Completed that. And then, and then bass for like a couple of years, and then eventually drums and percussion, you know, when I was like 15, 16, eventually ended up taking that a bit more seriously and getting lessons. So yeah, I think it probably did impact me. I mean, we always had like music on in the car and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And that was, I mean, I think I don't know if that's part of the course. Maybe I'm taking that for granted, but I think it's hard to pinpoint exactly how much of an impact it's had. I'm sure it has had an impact. And certainly it's been nice to have somebody to go to who's got just advice that is quite current and applicable. Certainly when I was kind of figuring out whether to take a year out or to go straight to uni and just try and do something or whatever. And my dad was a good advocate for just take a year, take 2 years if you need to, just like think about rather than kind of jumping in, which was great advice. So yeah, it's been really nice and, you know, very supportive. Very fortunate to have a supportive parent who's kind of like championed. I mean, he loves telling stories about stuff I've been doing, I think, but he also is very, you know, he's like, it's definitely helped me out along the way, which is great. So
Brilliant. Talking of your playing, I think it's time that we heard some.
Oh no.
I've been doing some homework, and it's been really fun because we don't normally do this for people that we know. I've dug out 9 tracks that you are either playing on, or you've produced, or you've written, or you've got some association with, and I'm going to play about 8 seconds so the copyright people don't get us. Yes. And if you want to expand on it, it's a bit like Name That Gram that they do on Hot Ones. So I'm going to jump over to my laptop because I haven't figured out how to stream it yet. And you can carry on talking just like I'm here.
Okay. Whoa. So weird, the technology. It's like ABBA Voyage. You're just still, like a projection of you is still here.
I will hologram me in. Okay, number 1. So Josh, tell us, what is it?
I haven't seen...
It must be 6 years, 7 years?
To be honest, I'd completely forgotten that.
Good start.
Only because, well, not because of the people playing, because all of them are fantastic people and great players. Yeah, I mean, backdrop for me at least, a personal excuse. I remember that was an extremely busy bit of college where everybody was doing final recitals, and I think I played in quite a few, but this was obviously for Kara's. Great flautist and great person. But yeah, also with some amazing other instrumentalists. Blimey. Yeah, that was with Cobalt Brass.
That's it. Yeah.
And yeah, so I still play with Connell quite a bit in Twisted Tubes.
Yes.
Which is a very different thing. But Cobalt Brass, I remember specifically, we did a piece by Illy Quain.
Oh, wow.
Which was like 6 idiots shouting at each other or something. It was Ruder Than That was the title.
I really need to dig that up for the next time you're here.
Please.
That sounds great.
It's like hilarious. But we ended up winning the Chamber Award at college.
Congratulations.
But yeah, it was, well, that's not really a drop of any sort, but more just that it's like really funny that it was the most outrageous piece.
Yeah.
And so tongue in cheek, and just kind of, we like walked in completely straight-faced, I think, or we were like shouting at each other or something into the Carol Nash recital room, and it was like just tonally bizarre, and it was also ridiculously difficult, but you know, great. That was like a real highlight in a sense from college, just getting through that piece.
Yeah.
I think if I looked at that piece now, I'd kind of shaking my boots a little bit because it was really hard.
It was an experimental time for lots of people.
Yeah.
On to number 2. I'm definitely going to have to chop out me walking.
That was a kind of classic, I think I should make something I think I'd just seen June or something.
Yes,
at the time. And I was like,
great film.
Okay, yeah, it's great. And I want to make something in the realm of that. And so, yeah, I think it started when I was in like a quarantining situation.
Okay.
And so I didn't have a lot to play with, but I was kind of messing around with some sounds. And then I had this like hilariously tiny snare drum. It's like one of these like drum and bass tiny snare drums. And I was like, well, got to make the most of this. And so kind of did some like little bits and recorded it, and then had to like effect it loads to kind of get the depth to it. Anyway, yeah, that's my best Hans Zimmer impression to date.
Very nice. Love it. lockdown 1 vibes.
Was it really?
Yeah. It was during that very sweaty month where we all exercised for about 4 minutes a day. And
then roasted alive.
Yeah.
It was so hot. I remember being that was in a terraced house that I was in Hume at the time.
Okay.
And
warm.
Top floor.
Oh, the best.
Kind of attic conversion room. And it was so sweaty. And yeah. No, I think I was messing around with stuff. You were in the middle of your 365 days of nonsense.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Still recovering.
And it was great. Yeah, I really loved what you did. Also, you did stuff, you heard the harmony in that way different to how I initially heard it, which was cool.
Yeah, so you sent over kit and bass. And do you know what? I had the exact same conversation with lots of people. So Will Blackstone did one, maybe it might have even been just the day before you. And that was the conversation. It was like, whoa, I didn't hear it that way at all.
Yeah.
So and that was quite nice to have that connection, even though I was down in Hitchin, you were in Manchester, and hadn't seen people in months really.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that was nice.
Number 4.
Yeah, thank you for that. More cowbell?
Yes, please.
That is me on cowbell. Yeah, that's for legal reasons, Super Big Tramp Band.
I'm glad you said it because I always get it wrong, and then it becomes rude. But yeah,
yeah, that's oh yeah. I mean, I think the first gig of that was in my final year at college, and yeah, it's like a bit of an all-star band. So very much enjoyed the sweatiness of that. And yeah, that was great. I mean, I'm still hoping that kind of takes off a little bit more than it has done. But that's kind of just down to, the people running it and getting the kind of stuff together to play the Super Tramp tunes. But yeah, it's great. I love it. Great. It's just a vibe. It's such a vibe.
It's great. We love it.
It's nice music. I mean, it's also just like playing with Steve on drums. He's like a bit of a kind of Manchester legend. And yeah, I went to Hamburg, did a gig there with them.
That was really casual there.
Nice. Well, I only mention that because we've just had Christmas, and there's a really nice photo of me hugging an enormous Santa Claus, like a 2-story high Santa Claus.
From that trip?
From that trip.
Oh. I'll drop it right here.
Christmas again.
Number 5.
I'll quickly rattle through this because there's a few things to mention in my mind, at least. So Ben Gorb, yes, Ben. I met Ben on my first ever night at RNCM.
Really?
Yeah, we bumped into each other at the Halls party, and he was
always
like,
a good laugh.
I'm looking for a drummer, and I was like, I'm a drummer. And then 2 weeks later, we had a little play, and that was that. So nice. I've been playing with Ben for like 7 years, 8 years now.
Wow.
And it's like the rockiest thing I do probably. Anywho, with Joe on bass, and worked with Jake at Big Red Studios for that track, and I was so gassed at how it came out. Ben's a bit of a kind of tyrant when it comes to recording. We go in and we do like 3 tracks in a day, and it's like, whoa, so it's quite intense. But I was really pleased that this one came out so well. And then also just to say that we went to Macclesfield Forest to record some of that.
I was wondering where the location was. It's such an epic look on the music video. I'll have to put it in.
It is. It's really good. Apart from Ben didn't get any permission to be there. So
did the Rangers come around? No.
So within like 2 minutes, like we set up the drums and got one take. And at the end of that take, someone was like, "What are you doing here? People don't come to the forest to listen to that." And they looked at my drum, pointed at my drums. I was like, some people do come and want to listen to
Please put that as a testimonial on your page.
Not the forest. So that was quite funny, but it was a nice short day for me at least. To just set up, back down, see you later.
Excellent. So did you have to come back and reshoot? No, you just got it done.
One take wonder.
Wow.
But yeah, anyway.
Regardless, it's come out so cool.
Yeah, it looks great.
So
cool. It's great.
ocean you're swimming in.
Yes, Mr. Alex Huxley. This was yeah, this was, I think, post lockdown, or even during lockdown we kind of started it, and then it took like a year and a half or so to kind of get through. And this was like my first proper project almost that I was like, I guess it is producing, and mixing and recording and doing bits and bobs on. So it was a real achievement when it kind of all came together, and I was really pleased. And it was great to work with Alex over that long as well, as a good pal. And I went to Sam Bloor for mastering. He's like based in Stoke, and yeah, it was great. And I learned so much during that whole project. But yeah, Red Wine, which is a tune on that album, is probably my personal favourite, which is nice and dreamy and all sorts.
It's such a beautiful EP. I've been listening to it along with the other tracks as I've been driving, often late night after a rehearsal or something, and it's just so tender. And I know Alex is like a horn player, so this is a whole new side to his musicality that is just so nice to see.
Yeah,
so.
there was a kind of a bit of, he wanted to kind of get it out kind of ASAP in a sense, because he was kind of like, that's how I was feeling at the time.
Yes.
It's not kind of as much how I feel right now, and I want to kind of be doing other stuff. So yeah, we kind of got it together and then kind of sent it off and did it. But it's nice, and I think well, from what he tells me at least, I think he's really pleased with that. It kind of came together, and it's a nice little kind of reference point. I guess that's what we get as creatives, don't we? We get, fortunately, if we kind of record this stuff, it's like you have nice reference points for. This is what I'm getting from this anyway.
Yeah,
it's just like, whoa, oh yeah, that thing happened.
This happened,
and it's like, wow, okay.
Because we rarely look back, and often when we do, it's not always. You kind of do it in private. You go, oh, was that okay? Yeah, it was okay, and then you move on. It's like oh yeah. But this is nice. We've got 3 more.
Alrighty, all right. Yeah, Second Circle, that's Nick Lockwood's project. Nick's a fantastic bass player and arranger, writer as well. Yeah, that's a project which I hope gets some kind of wind in its sails at some point, because it's nice and it's really challenging, fun music, very kind of fusion-y, not kind of fusion-y as in like fusion, but more like fusion of all kind of types of like South American, Latin, and Western music kind of coming together. So yeah, I'm always super psyched when that stuff comes up. So Nick, do the thing, please.
Number
8. Yeah, Mr. Nat Martin.
Absolutely.
On the tenor horn. Yeah, Vol, is it?
It was, yeah.
Vol, staying in. Yeah, that was fun. I mean, that was kind of like, I remember being in the sweaty third floor room. Second floor, third floor. I don't know. It's third floor.
Oh, so similar lockdown time.
Lockdown time, and I'd managed to set up my drums in the room, and much to
got rid of the bed,
joy,
just had the kit.
It was so squeezy in there, but I managed to get it all in, and so I was kind of just messing around with different microphones.
So there's a soundbite there. Good, carry on.
No. But I was just kind of squeezing in all my practice.
See what we did there.
And yeah, trying to get it done. Anyway, miking up in different ways, and Nat kind of was like, I've got this tune that I've kind of recorded. Could you do some drums? I was like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, epic.
Unity.
Whoa, nice.
Yeah, that was like Andy Scott's project that he put together for
yes.
MJF 2018, 18 probably, or 19 maybe. I don't know.
A little while ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little while ago. That was great. I mean, I played some of Andy's music before in different guises. And so this was kind of like really exciting to kind of dig your teeth into, lots of exciting stuff. And it was great to play with so many other outrageous kind of musicians, not least kind of Dave Hassel, who was my teacher at college, and Jack McCarthy as well on percussion, who is playing in the other box on Lion King, kind of opposite. So that's really nice as well.
Do you see each other?
Yeah, we can kind of wave at each other. There's a few
that's
points
nice.
where we give each other thumbs up and stuff.
It's going well. The iPad's working.
You're doing good, man.
Nice. Keep it up.
Yeah, it's great.
You're great.
Yeah, you're great. And so, yeah, it's super cool. I mean, yeah, both of them were just... It's kind of like playing with people like that. You kind of just... It really ups your game, I think, like immediately. And that, the couple of times I've got to play with Gwilym, that has been like, oh, man, okay... Gwilym really knows what's going on.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
At all
No
times,
hiding here.
At all times. There is absolutely no scapegoat. And it's kind of just like your ears are instantly like, and yeah, you feel like you've got bad time because these guys have just next level. You know, it's that whole thing. But got to do what you got to do. Try and keep up. That's the
Absolutely.
thing.
There you go. That's
Thanks
your...
for that. That's honestly, that's so nice.
I'll
to
send it
reflect
to
on.
you. So
Yeah,
you've got a
yeah.
little rundown of your own
That's
tracks.
nice. It's nice.
We're into the last little chunk of the podcast now, and the cameras are still recording, which is a miracle if you saw what was happening just before. I want to round it off in the realm of well-being, mental health, and looking after yourself as a creative in 2023, with all of the implications of, you know, tricky things in terms of finance and all that kind of stuff. But I want to start off by going back to something you mentioned earlier, and something that I've always really respected as a decision you made and wished I had done looking back as well, which is taking a bit of time between high school and higher education and music college. Music college for me, it was a brilliant time, but it was always far bigger in my mind's eye than maybe it should have been. And I felt that looking back, if I were to take time out in between to develop as a human mainly, but as a musician and just a thinker, it would be in a more healthy perspective. And it's really nice as well to hear that was supported and encouraged by your dad as well, because there's so many people within education that have or feel like you need to push people quickly onto a conveyor belt because it then, you know, carries on and you're not going to lose anything. But actually, life's a long game, and yeah, so I think that's an amazing decision that you made. If you were talking to a person maybe 15 to 18 that are considering music college or any artistic college, what sort of advice would you give them?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, there's a sense of kind of, if you know what you want, then like crack on. I think that there is like that side of it. But there's kind of like, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And also it's, you know, I think the space thing is good. And I think all that those 2 years really gave me was just like a bit of space to really assess what I wanted to kind of sink my time into. There's only so many hours in the day, isn't there? So it's kind of like, I mean, during those 2 years, I was doing a bit of teaching, a bit of like wider opportunity stuff, which was great. And, you know, but I kind of realised quite soon into that I wanted to be performing and playing. And you look around and you see what paths are available to you, I guess. You're kind of just like, it's that representation thing. It's like, who do I know? What did they do? Yourself knew you'd gone to music college, were having a jolly time as far as I could tell.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, so that's available. And I knew that our head of music, John, was the same.
Yeah.
And I knew loads of other people who'd gone to the RNCM. So it was kind of like this thing. And then it kind of just happened at the right time that Mike Hall was pushing for some kind of jazz course, but kind of like a pathway that was called. And that kind of was like, oh, so I get to do my tune stuff and I get to do the drum stuff. So for me personally, at least, that was what enabled that decision. For people who are out there 15, 18, it's it's so contextual. It's really hard to give like blanket advice. But if you can kind of manufacture some time, I think it's just not gonna hurt. Yeah, I think it's just time. It's such vacuous advice, but it's just literally taking and time to not do stuff is the thing that will give you perspective. Bad advice to just say do nothing. But like that's bad advice. But like doing nothing with kind of an aim of kind of just trying to figure things out. But
I'm not actually sure doing nothing is bad advice at all, because we are in a grind culture. You know, you've got Gary Vaynerchuk and all these business people that pop up on social media that just biblically say you're only going to be successful in life if you are just on all the time. Sure. And I know my struggles have been when I have just been on and forgotten to eat, sleep, take a moment. So actually doing nothing isn't the worst thing. And something I'll throw in there as well about the worry of there will be somebody better than you at some part of your playing or some part of what you're interested in. But increasingly as I get older, that doesn't matter at all, because your palette of things clearly is so varied from what we've seen today of you and lots of musicians, that actually the thing that makes you really special is that you've got all these different things and you're really good at that group of things rather than the line.
I mean, there's conversations to be had about encouraging. Well, there's like the kind of two approach. I mean, in one way, there's two approaches I think that are really worth considering. Like especially with music specifically, but I imagine it's the same for a lot of different art forms. But you know, you're either gonna, if you've got a passion for a certain thing, and somehow you can see into the future and know that this is the thing that is gonna continually, you know, really get you going and really, you know, you're gonna hone in on that. So. Like if you've got that, and I've seen that in other, you know, in friends where jazz is the thing and that is what they want to dedicate all of their time to, whatever they do. And it's kind of like those people are going to be the people who are playing at kind of the really big venues all the time, who are kind of doing that kind of Montreux Jazz Festival thing all the time, doing all of the kind of top level gigs.
Yep.
You've got to be at peace that those people exist, and that's what they do. Yeah. If you put them in a completely different situation, they won't be as comfortable, but that's not what they're about anyway, so it's fine.
Exactly.
So then it's kind of like, so you're either going to be that person, or you're going to kind of do the thing which I'm kind of continually trying to do, which is to just try and be as good as many things as possible that I'm interested in. And I guess it's like that kind of thing. The difficulty that I've wrestled with, and I think that you've got to come to peace with, is you are comparing yourself against the best of each specific thing. Yep. When I kind of if I make a video, I'm looking at the best. I'm looking at like a Scorsese film, a guy who's dedicated his entire life to directing and creating film. So I'm not going to know, you're not going to be as good as that. Yep. So it's like, you've got to continually kind of just reality check yourself and kind of be like, well, that's okay. Cause that's, you know, and it's kind of not necessarily making an excuse for yourself, but you just got to kind of, it's that kind of you've got to be really kind to yourself. I think to have any longevity in the creative arts, you've got to just be kind of like, I think positive framing is the way, and you've got to kind of just try and carry that through. And there'll be things, I mean, it's all also born out of character, I think. This is like my other side thought. I think like me personally, I kind of get bored if I'm on the same thing all the time. Yes. Yeah. So percussion as well, like completely lends itself to that. I can go and practice and spend an hour doing the drums if I'm lucky. And then I'll maybe be a bit tired of that, so I'll go on to the congas. And then I'll be a bit bored of that, and then I'll record some shaker, and then I'll go and do this, and then I'll go. So it's really catering to that bit of me, which is like wants to be doing other stuff, and always kind of trying to do different things. And it comes in sometimes it's like phases. I mean, I imagine you'll have had this where it's like, I'm in my recording phase. I'm recording everything all the time for like 4 weeks. Yes. And then I'm not going to touch any of that for 4 weeks now because I really love playing the saxophone, or I really love playing whatever. So I think it's probably overall to summarize, a balance, isn't it, of like knowing what you personally want and need, and whether or not you think those habits or traits are going to change over time. There's a certain amount you can change and a certain amount you probably can't. And then it's a case of, I think it's the longevity thing. I think you've got to be, nobody's got a crystal ball, sadly, and it might be that you dedicate your life, you want to really get into a specific niche, and then like 10 years later you're like, oh, actually I don't want to do this. But then also there's so many transferable skills. So it's kind of like, yeah, final thought, there's Tom Harris, was my old housemate, amazing piano player, and he's really gone in on the jazz thing, and he's a fun, like, he's like idol for a while was I'm gonna get his name wrong now. So I plays with Cecile. Anyway, Sylvan, I think is his name, piano player, and he's phenomenal, very virtuoso, like super expressive. And whilst we were living together, Tom was transcribing some of that stuff, and we talk about this kind of thing sometimes. And his take on it was, if you get into something to a really deep level, there are skills and the process of like literally processing that information and learning that stuff at such a high level, you can't really explore those processes of learning when you're just like getting into stuff like for the first time. So there's an argument to kind of like, you should really go in on one thing just so that you can access this like deeper learning that happens when you're at the top.
Yes.
And then you can apply that to the other stuff. So it's like a kind of, if you have like 8 chart, like what they call just bar charts.
Bars.
Yeah. And you got one specialism and it goes up, then the rest will creep up afterwards.
Yes, totally.
Or you can go in on all 10 and slowly trickle up.
Yeah.
And I think it's like either of those. I mean, either's fine.
Yeah, and people's brains are differently and wired differently.
Yeah.
But it is such a big thing about almost learning how to learn for you. And I think that's one of the most important things about higher education in general. Whatever you're studying, it doesn't actually really matter as long as you learn, okay, this is the thing I need to achieve. How am I going to get there? You fail, and then you get okay with failing, and then you learn how to not fail.
Yeah, totally. It's practicing practice. That is the key of it. That is like, how do you want to get good at anything? That's the universal skill that anybody who's a musician or an artist has, which makes, I would argue, makes us very employable people outside of the industry as well.
Yeah, we are open to work.
Thank you. But it's like, we're really good at learning how to do stuff really quickly.
Yeah.
That's like the core of learning instruments and the core of learning music. So
yeah, it is actually, yeah.
You basically develop this like, which isn't tooting my own horn in any way, but it's like everybody who learns an instrument learns how to learn, which is like invaluable. That's like, you can apply that to like anything. Like if you want to learn how to make a really good cup of coffee, you're going to learn that quicker.
Or how to climb, like you taught me really well.
Yeah, I wish
and
I was climbing
really
more
bad. To leapfrog on from here, I want to. I've got a surprise, and there's a surprise.
I have no idea.
I wanted to gift each guest on the podcast with something, and I thought I would love to buy you something, but I'm not very financially stable right now, so I can't do that. Instead, I was thinking about what would be beneficial for you, not just for now, but for in the future. And I think in our culture, our English culture, that's quite... I'm not going to comment on it, but it is what it is, and we're not always very good at complimenting each other and complimenting ourselves. Last night, I was lucky enough to cover for you at the Fish Lip Soup Big Band, and I got a number of them to record a little something for you, alongside some mutual musician friends of ours. So this is a little thank you from me, but thank you from lots of people for being who you are. So dangerous. Have a little watch of this.
Dangerous.
Hello, Josh. You're great. I love you very much. I have many reminders of you around, of our work together. That's the only one that's near, but there's others, I promise.
Josh, I really appreciate all the energy and enthusiasm and laughter you bring to Fish Lip Soup Big Band. It's great. Also, other projects we've done together, I really appreciate all the noises and all the infills and all the bits that you can't write down, which you put in, which make Latin music even better. It's mega. Thanks.
Hi Josh, Cliff here. Just a message to say thanks very much for being our Fish Lip Soup MD. A genuine pleasure playing for you. I think your sort of laid back, chilled, sort of jovial style really gets the best out of the band. I thoroughly enjoyed the time we've spent together playing in the band, and yeah, you know, it's a genuine pleasure to play with someone as talented as yourself. So yeah, thanks very much for everything you've done for myself and the band, and hope to see you soon. Cheers.
Hi mate, just a message of appreciation to you for being such a top bloke and ace musician. Every opportunity I get to work with you musically is something that I really relish, and having your backing, it offers real security and reassurance, and that things will play out okay. Nice one, see you in a bit.
Hi Josh, just a message to say, you know, thanks for the way you look after the band, and what good fun you are to play with. Not only a great conductor, but also a very nice person, so thanks very much.
Josh, we love you. It's the Fish Lip Soup Band, buddies. See you soon.
Hi Josh, I really want to thank you for all the hard work you put into running the band. It's a job for you, but for us, it's our de-stressors, and we really appreciate what you do for us. So a big thank you from me and the rest of the guys here. Thank you.
Hey Josh, just a quick note to thank you very much for being such an entertaining MD at Fish Lip Soup. Your stories in the middle of gigs are ridiculous, but funny. Cheers, mate.
That's very nice. Thank you for arranging that.
No worries at all. It's really important that we remember to thank one another, and you are a very kind person with your energy, with your music, and I'm really grateful for you being here today, but also being a really good friend, so thank you.
Thanks, man. Wow.
To finish off with, a closing tradition that I've stolen directly from Stephen Bartlett on his wonderful podcast, The Diary of a CEO. Each guest that comes on, I have got them to write, a bit like a guest book, an idea or questions for future guests. Okay, the question is, do you see yourself doing the same thing you're doing right now in 5 years' time, or do you think you'll have changed pathways?
Good question. I think, to my best knowledge, I think I'll be doing similar things.
Yeah.
I don't know, though. I don't know. I think... I don't know. The only reason I'm hesitating is because I don't know.
He doesn't know.
Because I don't know.
That's okay to not know, and it's a wonderful thing as well.
I'm very open to like other stuff happening, and whether I'm in Manchester or somewhere else, that will dictate what I'm doing, and the certain levels of things that I'm doing. So, I wouldn't be sad if I was doing like a little bit more of what I'm currently doing.
Yep.
That would be nice. I enjoy it. Currently, I enjoy the variety of what work I am doing. If there was like a bit more, that would be fine. Or if it was like, you know, if it was like a tour of something, that would be cool. So if those things happen, that'd be great. In 5 years' time, I hope Business with Andrew is booming, and has grown and scaled. And if that has scaled up, maybe I'll be doing a bit more of that. But I'm quite, at the moment, content. So 5 years from now, if I'm still content and this is what I'm doing,
then you've won.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah.
Mate, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me on.
Until the next time.
Yeah, which will be, I'm sure, a cup of tea in a minute.
If you're still listening at home, thank you so much. Please do share, like, subscribe, and also get in touch, because the more I hear from you at home, the more I'll be able to cater these interviews to be exactly what you want to hear and who you want to hear it from. Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, remember to create with people, connect with people, and be exactly you. Peace.
Nice,
mate.
Well done.
Sick. We did it.
Well done. Yeah, very good.
Okay. In 5 years' time, do you think you will have changed pathways, or do you think you will have just grown? What? No, that's literally. I'm making this up.
Rumble.
Oh gosh. What shall I ask you?
That's a good question.
Okay.
If you want. Yeah, that's good.
Was it convincing?
It was reasonably convincing.
Thank you.
I feel like you weren't really scanning that much, but no, it looked reasonable.
I'm just gonna. Oh no, I'm gonna have to do the whole thing. But as you're in the early stages of our interviews, I've got some people a bit like our fish soup lip. No,
Other way. You got it. You got it.
Fish loops. Oh,
Fish. Take 9.
we're so close. To finish off the podcast, a closing tradition that I've stolen directly from Stephen Bartlett.
No, you don't think about it too much.
Okay.
Don't think about it.
I'm just going to cut to me asking you a question.
Yeah.